Persona 6 is on the cusp of being announced, and in this video, I'm just gonna share what I'd like to see for the series, whether Atlas wants to move forward or not. These are just my thoughts and what I think should be done going forward from Persona 5. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So what I'd like from Persona 6 is dark, edgy, an anime character with blue hair. Yep, end of video. Nah, that's not what I want at all. I was watching Feather's videos, so I had to joke about it a little bit, but honestly what I want from Persona 6 is probably a lot different from what other people want. Like, I don't mind where the series goes from here, it just has to more or less be done well, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that, you know, Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal wasn't done right. I mean, there are aspects that I'm going to talk about in this video that they can improve on, but in terms of like themes, I really don't mind it staying in, like, you know, Shibuya, but I also don't mind it going back to very compact, like in Persona 4. And you could also argue Persona 3 is a bit compact too, but hey, I wouldn't mind to return to areas and actually have it be more explorable, because I think that would be a cool touch too. Like, just imagine exploring Iwatodai in HD with the new Persona protagonist and it just being crazy, because they make a lot of references to Persona 3. I mean, not like a lot, but you know, just having some things there, and then like at the end of the game you see the C's members just be like, yo, what's good, homie? I think that'd be really dope. But going back to the small and compact aspect of, like, you know, Persona 4, I don't know if that'd really work in a modern sense, because they want to take advantage of the PS5's hardware now. You can say, yeah, they can probably do that within like the dungeons or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like they really want to expand upon the open worldness of Persona 5, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But honestly, I wouldn't mind where the series goes from here. And in terms of a darker, light mood, I don't know, I think I really like Persona 3 and Persona 4, and some of aspects of Persona 5, of course, but I think I would like a mix of just having really dark shit in the game, but having really lighthearted moments, like wholesome moments in the game. So honestly, I'm kind of a mixed bag for this one. I am the mixed bag. The last mixed bag. And just elaborate on like the dark stuff, having really crazy stuff happen, like people actually dying, and you know, like we'll say the metaverse or the dungeon area, whatever they call it in Persona 6, like whack shit, like kind of like Persona 4 and Persona 3. But yeah, they just have wholesome moments in the real world too, so just that little mixture there would really, I think, be cool, but not so much make it Persona 4 style. Because Persona 5 has sure dark characters, but there's no like real aspect of someone like dying. Which, what I mean by this is more or less impactful deaths within the game that makes you be like, wow, that person really died. Atlas had the balls to make that character die in the game. Like Akechi, sure, you care about Akechi, but what about Okumura? Like, Haru doesn't even give a shit. What about the principal? No one cares about the principal. Everyone's just like, wow, he really died, and then they just forget about it later. So that's what I mean by, like, you know, real aspect of like a character dying, like it actually hitting you in the goddamn feels, and then you're crying for a week about that character that you miss. Or have, you know, like a blue balls moment, like Nanako dying in P4. You get what I mean? Like, oh shit, she's dead, I feel sad, no. And then she's alive. Like something like that to really impact the player, because Persona 5, in my opinion, didn't do that really well, especially with Okumura's death and Haru really not caring. Like, how about maybe like a character that you meet ends up like getting into the TV world or whatever Persona 6's world happens to be, and they end up dying, and it's actually really like awful because you had just met this person and I mean, shit, everything can return to normal by the time you beat the game, but I mean, just having that instant, like, glorification, like, shit, people are actually dying, like, you gotta save people, would be a really, really dope, aspect in this game, rather than focusing on people's desires, if you will. And what I mean by wholesome moments, I really just mean social link events, like, that are very impactful to the player, and, you know, give that extra character growth, makes you like the character, like, you know, you and Yosuke dynamic, like how they just are best bros and partners, and just like how you just punches them in the face.
It's hard, but wow, I guess I cold cocked you twice now.
Or doing the relationship thing. Yeah, you get what I mean, I think. And of course those story progression moments that like Persona 5 did with like going to the beach with the characters, especially Persona 4. Talking towards the social links, honestly, not everyone needs 10 social links, especially if you can't make a good story out of their 10 social links. Does Makoto come to mind as a terrible social link in Persona 5? Yes, because you get introduced to this friend of hers that is absolute trash. She is a forgettable character and I do not remember her, so yes. Like, even if you did something like Kasumi's and only had 5 social links, like, for main cast, I would not care, because at least their main story and its integrity is in the main story, because dragging it out is just too much. Like, even on story, or social link story, I should say, is kind of not that great either. Like, I get the whole contrast between, like, being a fashion star or whatever, and having competition, but the whole point of her story was, like bad shit was happening with Kamoshida. Her essential arc is essentially ended when you beat his arc. Now, per se, the social link was just her getting over, you know, seeing Shiho in the hospital, injured. That would be really good character development. It's kind of like the aspect that you kind of get when you see her just crying at a freaking table. But no, you don't get anything like that in her social link. Like, there's some instances, sure, but it's not really well executed, mixed in with like the whole fashion competition shit. God, I feel like this is turning into a review for Persona 5 at this point. Maybe I should make that. Regardless to say though, the only way to really fix this is not have a full 10 social link on every single character you come across that's, you know, even main protagonists in the game, because it just ends up falling really flat on its ass, and the replayability of learning that character story is just ruined by an overstretched social link. Ryuji's social link is actually done relatively well in this game, because he wants to get back into, you know, the running club because, you know, his injured leg and what Kamoshida did to it. That social link actually makes sense, and I think Yusuke's does too, with him being in a slump or whatever. They're not bad, right? Like, they're done relatively well. It's just for some reason a majority of the other casts and like the main characters of Persona 5 just are done and executed terribly. And from what I recall of like Futaba's social link, you just constantly go to like the Akibara store and trying to buy a game, and then she gets lost. Like, what? I understand the fear of social anxiety, but it just is done really uninterestingly, I guess, if you will. And Haru's I just don't remember because it was too late in the game, so I really don't like Haru, do I? Like, honestly, all the side characters, I guess we'll call them side characters, are done really well. Like, it just should not be like so much of a compare and contrast here. I guess from the most part, like when you're meeting Takamaki, like you're actually meeting these people the first time, and this is the only way their story progresses. So I sort of understand that, but their story is done so much more well than the main character's cast in general, and I just can't put my finger on why, other than the story basically took that all up for them. Which sucks. It really sucks. So the only way I could see to fix this is not have a full 10 social link on these characters. End of discussion there. Just because of the fact that it's just not worth overdragging a story that ends up making you not like the character afterwards. And I'm looking at you, Makoto, looking at you. Like, even compared this to prior Persona games, especially 4, their main cast was done super well, where they had more story and how they were getting over their things even when and after they awakened to their persona. So just I just cannot understand why Persona 5 is so strange, I guess, if you will. Persona 3 is kind of weird because it was like the first time introducing social links, and not everyone had a main social link unless you played P3P, which I did not, so I'll not speak upon that. As far as gameplay goes, I think Persona 5 really modernized the, whole aspect of the gameplay and made it really fun. But how about you make the gameplay fun, but also make the game relatively hard? Because I swear to God, at a point the game gets way too easy, and especially just learning all the characters, or I should say demons' weaknesses, that it just becomes more or less, it just hit the weakness and then you win. I feel like there needs to be an aspect where other demons can like recover other demons and have kind of a twist there, so it's not always like, oh yeah, if you get the weakness you're straight up gonna win. Because I just find it to be so OP, the weakness system in this game. It's fun, don't get me wrong, it's really easy. I just really find it to need a bit nerfing. Akumura's Palace, I think in P5R sorta did this, where it didn't give you an all-out attack because it's like waves of enemies, but also that boss is kind of crappy, especially with those waves of enemies, because it's the same enemy up until you get to like other enemy types, and it's just like you should have been able to do an all-out attack with that. It just feels way too dragged out with those waves of enemies, in my opinion. I don't know, that's the best way as I can describe it. It just makes it unfun to an extent, not so much challenging. So I think adding certain elements like the other demons being able to recover demons may give the combat system a much needed twist, and maybe adding a few other things. Maybe like certain bosses take away one of your party members, sort of like in Final Fantasy 7 with Ruby Weapon, to really make the game like make you shit yourself and be like, wow, I'm missing a party member for good right now. This sucks. Damn, that'd actually be a really good aspect with the Reaper. I know Fear does this and makes, your party run away from the situation, especially if Fear's struck into them, but I just mean like they dead boy, like the Reaper, just like taking them, like, and just them being teleported to another dimension and they just not coming back until you beat the battle. And they're just saying like, bro, that dimension was nuts, it was crazy, I don't want to come back to the metaverse. I mean, those are just some. I'm sure that people have some themselves, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I just think there needs to be an added challenge and maybe another layer to the combat system to make it more entertaining and challenging at the same time. Persona 5 Royal, on the other hand, made that shit way too easy. Like, oh boy, I mean, at least on normal mode, I didn't really try their difficulties because I think I'm more of a normal type of player, so I guess if I wanted a challenge to make it higher the difficulty, but I don't know, I like normal because it's more of a steady paced experience than being like, alright, you're gonna die in 2 hits for no reason. But although Persona 5 Royal made it real easy, I do recommend that people play Persona 5 Royal over vanilla P5 because, my god, original P5 just has so many less features that make grinding a whole lot more tedious. Not to mention, of course, the quality of life improvements, etc. It is in a weird spot in terms of release and P5 being free on PlayStation Plus, but still, I definitely wholeheartedly recommend P5R. Anyways, this is where I'll leave the video. I know I was kind of all over the place in this video, but I just wanted to sort of just be like spitballing here, just give my thoughts on like what they can do for the future and what I'd like to see the Persona series kind of advance and excel in some areas and make it more challenging for some people, especially with the combat. So, and improving the social link system so that we're not getting dragged out as social links that make no sense to be dragged out. With that being said, comment what you think the next Persona game should add or get rid of, how to improve the combat system, social link system, etc., and whatever else that I could discuss. Like and dislike the video if you enjoyed it or hated it, and subscribe if you feel like watching more content like this. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.